So winter has pretty much come to an end. In fact, today is the official first day of spring, and really it's been feeling more like spring for the past couple of weeks. And so what I wanted to do was kind of go through and kind of wrap up the colder season there and just kind of do a recap on some of the things that I've been wearing the most. These have been some fragrances that I've been hooked on, really been wearing them a lot. Now, one thing you'll find is that not all of these are hardcore, dedicated winter scents. Like I said, because the past few weeks here have been unseasonably warm, I've had some fresher scents thrown into the mix. But again, there's also going to be some heavier scents that I have been wearing pretty consistently on the days that it has dipped down into below freezing temperatures. But it's very much been back and forth, you know. We've had lows into the 20s and then highs into the 60s and sunny within a matter of days. And so I've really been able to kind of bounce back and forth between just completely different scents. But now it's probably going to stabilize and we're going to be getting into the more dedicated spring scents and then of course summer fragrances to follow. So here are some of the things that I've been wearing the most. The first one is Manera Cosmic Pepper. This one, obviously on the fresher end of things, for those days it's been a little bit warmer. The way I describe this one is it's kind of like Chanel Allure Homme Sport Extreme meets La Nuit de l'Homme, but then with their own little Manera twist thrown in there. You're getting a ton of spices, you know, cardamom, peppers, things like that, somewhat similar to La Nuit. Lavender also, and then some of the tonka bean, kind of slightly aromatic, slightly green mintiness, and some of those other facets from the Chanel. Just combine those two together, mix things up a little bit more, and essentially that is Cosmic Pepper. So with the name Pepper, you would think it's going to be overwhelmingly spicy, but it's not necessarily that. There's definitely a spicy kick off the top, but it's not as much as you might think. There are definitely fragrances out there with a considerable more amount of spiciness than this one, which I think in this instance here, it's a good thing. You know, I think it's really well balanced to where it's still super easy to pull off for a wide variety of people. Another thing, as I'm revisiting the opening there, you even get some of the aldehydes and some of the fresh notes, kind of like Chanel Allure Homme Sport, and even a little bit like Versace Pour Homme, just that kind of freshness that you get from that, that's present in here also. And so it's just kind of like a, you know, a mashup of a bunch of different things combined into one. I think this is a phenomenal release, and it might sound boring, and maybe it is for some, but for me, this is what I love. A versatile, great performing, and, you know, at the end of the day, relatively reasonably priced scent. This is not as expensive as Chanel Allure Homme Sport Extreme or the original Sport, and it's right about on par with La Nuit de l'Homme. So it's not like you're, you know, combining those and then paying $300 for this or something. You know, this is actually a little bit more affordable or around the same price. Next up, we have a new release, Givenchy Gentleman Society Extreme. So this one is right up my alley because they're adding in a lot of coffee and then even some iris in here. The original wasn't something that I was super excited about. It was fine, and it still is a fine scent. It just doesn't add enough, you know, personality and texture to it to where it's something that jumps out at me. You know, when I have a wide selection to choose from, the original Society, it just doesn't pop up. But this one is a really well-received improvement here. And the coffee in here, I'm telling you guys, absolutely phenomenal. It's a very rich, almost Irish cream, hazelnut coffee accord. It is phenomenal. One of the better coffee notes that I have smelled. And that sounds bizarre, and that's even up against some, you know, very popular and very well-liked niche coffee scents too. There is something about this one in particular that just hits hard. It really is something special. Now you get some of that original Society DNA in here as well, some of the slight florals, some of the freshness, and just kind of that more designer level overall kind of personality further on in the dry down, but they still do really amp this one up and make it more unique as a whole with that coffee and with that iris. This is impressive to say the least, and a really exciting new release, to be honest. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and so on those days where it's been a bit cooler, I've been trying to get this one in as much as I could. This next one here is kind of on the fresher end as well. I just wore this one. It was either last night or the night before. I just can never get away from this DNA. It's Aqua Deo Parfum. So I still kind of switch back and forth. You know, I wear this smell a lot. Sometimes in the form of Profumo, of which I have, you know, an abundance of bottles of. But lately, I've just been reaching for the Parfum because now I'm kind of in conserve mode. You know, I still have so much Profumo, but, you know, if I can wear the Parfum and get pretty much the same product and the same result, I'm probably just going to do that because this can be repurchased easily. And again, Profumo, Parfum, they're essentially the same thing. It's just that this one's being produced, and Profumo, that bottling, that name, that style is not. But I wear this all the time. I can't get enough of it. I mean, look, I don't know how well this is going to show on camera. Can you see the level, you know, right there? Granted, these don't come plumb full from the factory, but that is a consistent dent considering the amount of time that I've had it, which, you know, I got it when it first came out. Also relative to me testing and trying new things all the time, and also just wearing Profumo a lot of the times instead. So all of that into consideration, the fact that there's this much missing from this bottle already, just given the circumstances, that's saying something. So many of my bottles are still 99% full. This one is quite a bit below that. So again, if that doesn't tell you my love for this DNA, I don't know what does. It's kind of an obvious one, but I wear it all the time. Going over to a Dior, this one is Dior Homme Intense. So this one here definitely has seen some usage. This is 7S01, which I believe would translate to a 2017 bottle or batch. Could be wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that probably does make sense somewhat. Somewhere around in that, 2017, 18, somewhere like that. So I've had it for a long time, and I love it. This is one of my favorite iris scents, one of my favorite wintertime fragrances in general. And it was one of those deals where as we were starting to wrap up winter, it was getting closer to just the warmer weather and the forecast, I had kind of thought to myself, you know, I haven't worn Dior Homme Intense as much this past winter as I normally do and as much as I would want to. And so then it was like, all right, every time we would have a cold day, I would make sure to get this one in because that's just the reality. A lot of times I kind of get sidetracked with other things, and then I just don't have the opportunity to wear some, you know, staples in my collection that I wear often year over year. So definitely tried to work this one in as much as I could there towards the end, and I got quite a few wearings out of it. Pretty happy with that. Because, you know, as soon as spring really officially gets into play, which it kind of is, this one's going to be on the shelf up until fall and winter again at the end of the year. So definitely going to be missing this one kind of sometime in the middle of summer. We've got another newer release here. This one is Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Elixir. So the Elixir flankers are running wild. This one is really, really good. Very well done. I would say that they did everything right here. I don't see this one as a cash grab release or anything like that. I think this one was relatively well planned out, whether that was intentional or not. It definitely smells that way. It smells like they put a lot of thought into this one. What I love so much about this stuff is that it's still maintaining, of course, that Le Male DNA, some of the Le Parfum thrown in here, and of course, some of the original. But what they're also adding is a tobacco honey accord, which is very popular. They're definitely not the first to do this, but they've also done it in their own way, which makes it stand out in a positive manner. And it comes together and smells amazing. Such a good scent. And if you're someone who doesn't like Ultra Male because it's too sweet, and maybe Le Male Le Parfum still just wasn't all that exciting for you, I would consider giving this one a try. At least sample it first. You know, availability wise, it's retail or wait for it to come up on discounters essentially. And it does pop up from time to time. It just sells out quick. So, you know, it might be something to consider. I guess we're kind of running out of time now, or depending on where you live and if you adhere to those guidelines. But, you know, if you don't get it now, maybe this winter, when it's a little bit more stabilized, it might be something worth looking into. This is a great release that I do think deserves a lot of credit. Versace Pour Homme Oud Noir. It's great fall scent for sure, fall and into winter time. You know, I say fall just because it's kind of like, you know, mid-range temperature where it's a little bit cold, a little bit chilly, but it's not freezing. And spring has that as well. So I could wear this one into spring. It's not as suited. So I was wearing this one a lot as soon as we got into October, November area. And then again, kind of towards the tail end of winter when it was starting to feel a little bit more like, you know, warmer, I was starting to wear this one again as well. But then once things start to green up outside and the sun starts to come out more, this one just doesn't feel as appropriate. And then I'm usually kind of striving for some of my more green, fresh style scents. So going to be putting this one to rest until the end of the year again, but definitely got a lot of wearings out of this one. It's a great designer level, entry level oud scent that pretty much anybody's going to like. Next up, we have an exclusive edition fragrance, but this one has actually been in stock on a lot of discounters. So if you want this one, it's pretty easy to get right now. So it is Stronger With You Amber by Emporio Armani. This one's great. I like it a lot, actually. You might not hear about this one a ton just because it's, you know, no longer the newest, but it was the newest before Stronger With You Tobacco came out. And this one just didn't get anywhere near the amount of hype. So I don't know why. Maybe it's just not as trendy. You know, like oud is more of a trendy note. Tobacco is more of a trendy note. They haven't done an iris one yet, but you know, something like iris would be a very trendy note, and I would imagine they're probably going to do that. And so things like that, you know, they catch on more. Amber is not quite the same. I mean, amber is used in a ton of men's fragrances, some of which at the forefront, and they, you know, advertise that. Others it's just in the background, but it just doesn't have the same appeal. So I guess maybe that's where this one was sitting. Regardless, I do enjoy it, and it is an amber heavy version. It's a tiny bit animalic, just a little bit, to give it that kind of more premium smell, but it's not to the point to where it's going to be super hard to pull off. It's just a nice little twist on that Stronger With You DNA that has been popularized and a lot of you are probably very familiar with at this point. Nothing's going to take the place of Stronger With You absolutely for me, and honestly the new Tobacco, which I just covered, is really, really solid as well. So those are definitely going to be getting a lot of usage, you know, absolutely always does. And Tobacco, kind of going into the end of this year, will be getting a lot of wearing from me, I'm sure. But Amber is one that I did throw on quite a bit and enjoyed it a lot. Okay, we're going to end the video with Rochas Mustache Eau de Parfum. So this is another fall scent for me, primarily, is kind of what I envision this one. You know, when I smell it, I immediately think of fall, but I do wear it through into winter time. I can't get enough of this DNA. And I'll also issue this little statement here. It's not just this, it's other YSL tuxedo variants. So, you know, Alhambra the Tux, Fragrance World Suits, things like that. Afnan Tarathi Brown. You guys get the point. There's a lot of clones out there, a lot of inspirations. Rochas Mustache EDP is more of an inspiration. They've taken that DNA and they've reworked it a little bit. Those other ones that I listed off are more straight up clones. And a lot of the appeal for Rochas Mustache Eau de Parfum for me is the fact that it is just a little tweak on that existing DNA. Because again, I have so many other clones at this point and I do have the real one. So if I want that, I have it. I have an abundance of YSL tuxedo, like, you know, very accurate smells. But this one is just a little bit more exciting because, you know, they're focusing more on the vanilla and benzoin here, giving it just kind of a creamy, dusty, powdery smell. But then you're getting some pink pepper aiding in that spicy kick that you get from Tuxedo, which is based around spices. But in Tuxedo, it's more about the patchouli. This one, it's more about the vanilla, pink pepper, benzoin, and so on. This one's a bit more fresh too, just a slight bit. So that might, you know, be something that people like as well. But yeah, this is one that I'm, you know, gonna probably put away for the time being as we work into just brighter days ahead. But like every year, as soon as it starts feeling like fall outside, this one's coming back out. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some of my fragrance obsessions, I've been wearing these a ton lately. You know, some for those warmer days, some for those cooler days that are kind of coming to an end. So it's just kind of like a wrap up of you know, the winter, fall season there, what I was wearing the most. I will link all these down below to discounters for you. And look, if you want to be notified when brand new releases hit discounters like Le Mans Paradise Garden, we've had the new Stronger With You Tobacco hit, Latafa Assad, Zanzibar, and so many more, sign up to my mailing list and testing list at the link and number down below. Anytime those pop up, I send out a notification and they sell fast. Same thing with rare, discontinued fragrances coming into stock as well. When those pop up, I send out a notification too. Just this morning, at the time of me shooting this, YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Blue Electrique came back into stock. Sent out a notification, sold out quickly. It's sold out right now. Just today, again, Cosmic Pepper by Manera, which was featured here, popped up below retail. Homage Reflection 45 Extrait popped up below retail. So many great finds that you would likely miss out on otherwise. So I'll see you over there. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.